Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pope.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things we're talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Pope. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. We'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. We'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause the times is demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand
First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand the
Good morning, Earthlings. Welcome back from the weekend. How you doing? Glad you could be here. Sure was hot this weekend, wasn't it? At least it was out here in Southern California. All right, today, last day of the month of August, before we move into the month of September. Sun sign in Virgo, same as it was when we left. The moon sign is in Aries, beginning of the zodiac. So we had Pisces, which ended yesterday. We actually, 1:53 a.m. is when we went out of the last phase of Pisces, and we began going into Aries, 3:33 a.m. on the 31st today. Aries, fire sign. So what we're dealing with today is this. This is our sun sign, Earth. So we've been here, the hermit, holding the lantern high after we find the information so others can see it, color gray for neutrality. So as we're not going to one side or the other, we're finding the balance. Okay, hermit, we've been studying the Hermetic philosophy. Hermit is part of that. So the Hermetic philosophy is the philosophy of those who have gone in to find the light to bring it forth for others to see. And that is what is being shared, the light, the wisdom of the Hermetic philosophy, those 7 principles that we're going over. Okay? Moon sign for today is the Emperor, fire sign. Fire sign, first sign of the zodiac, so it's the beginning of a cycle. Pioneering efforts, all about pioneering. The color red all around is a color of action. It's color of passion. It's color of fire. If it's bottled up and it's not channeled, it can become aggressive. It can become agitated. Just think of how it is when you feel so much energy and you don't get to really expand it. And that's what it is. We're learning how to expand energy. So we have it all around us. We need to learn to channel it. The words and the phrase associated with this is he who sets in order. He, whenever you hear the terms he and she, they're simply referring to the gender terms of masculine and feminine. And if you try to apply the way in which we look at masculine and feminine in the world today to understanding, you're going to get all goofed up. Masculine and feminine, male and female, that's the way it is. Got an issue with it, take it up with God. But that's the way it is, okay? So we have the masculine energy, he, which means the mind, our conscious mind. The feminine energy is the subconscious, the receptive aspect. Just think of it as electricity, 2 ends of a pole, okay? So that's what we're dealing with today. Some of the subtler aspects we're dealing with occur later this morning and then later tonight. The first aspect at 11:05 a.m. is when Mercury and the moon become opposite. So we see the moon sign right here, and directly opposite is Mercury. Okay. So that's one, and then the other one we have here is between the Sun and Neptune. And this is also in opposition, so we're going to look for the Sun right here, and there's Neptune there, so you could see they're opposite. So we have a nice little cross going on here, sort of, between these two. They're not really. So remember what opposites are. You're looking at the reflection of yourself from the opposite extreme. You're looking at that which is balancing you, And just like being on a teeter-totter, when you stay on, you work together, everything is great. When somebody jumps off, the ride's over. So that's what we're looking at today. Okay, so Neptune brings in new perspectives, looking at things in a different way. Mercury, communication. So today we're all about new beginnings, dealing with our ways in which we communicate, our subconscious desires, and finding a new perspective on that which we have discovered and figuring how we might share it with the world. On the Jewish calendar today is 16 Elul. Elul being the last of the months of the Jewish calendar before we go into the next month, which begins the new year. So Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah are coming up. Okay. This is a month, as it tells us here, of mercy, month of mercy, divine mercy and forgiveness in preparation. Channels. There are two channels on Life's TV. One plays a fantasy, the other real life. The fantasy is a world that imagines itself to be its own truth, where nothing is of intrinsic value and everything functions by the rules of chance and necessity. In this world, you are nothing more than another background or shadow, an extra in a pilot's movie, a disposable prop for a 5-second scene. In this world, life may be prosperous or disastrous, whatever the scene demands, or you shall be given until it's time for the next scene to begin. The real life is a world in which you stand face to face before the director of this grand drama, but your story is not this drama, it is the intimate relationship of yours with the director. All things change, the props, the background, the actors, even the play itself, but this is forever. It is truth. Okay, so this is a good one to contemplate over the course of the day, between the real life and the fantasy life, and things even get more confusing these days because we have this thing called reality TV, which takes the idea of reality and kind of throws it on its head and kind of makes it somewhat of a fantasy, because it, everything that's out there that's reality TV, it's all scripted. It's not just reality. They couldn't do that. You have to have some sort of order when you're putting a show together, and so the people play within the parameters of that order. There is a lot of stuff that is happening in the moment, but there is a lot of stuff that is scripted and prepared and has to be, so you can enjoy the show. You can enjoy what's going on. All right? Now, let us move on from the daily thought to the Mayan Oracle. Remember, we're still looking at that. Today's a 7-tone day. We're in this particular column, which is still right in the middle of all of these heavy galactic activation portal days here. We're reflecting the last column of the first 6. And if we go up here and take a look, it says 7 dog, resonant dog guided by the wind. The phrase is, I channel in order to love, inspiring loyalty. I seal the process of heart with the resonant tone of attunement. I am guided by the power of spirit. I am a galactic activation portal. Enter me. We're on the wave spell of the seed, which is all about planting and flowering. And here we are in the position of love. Okay, just another way to look at time. Look at the energy around us. Time is art is a nice phrase that goes along with this whole system. 95% of the way full. I hope you had a chance to spend some time out checking out this moon. It's awesome. Awesome. Sat outside for several hours the last couple nights under the light of the full moon. Really nice. Nice moon. Space weather, solar wind, 385.7 kilometers per second. Planetary K index is quiet at a 2. Slided over since the last time we looked at it. Big hole in the middle, but that's about it. M-class flare possibility is dropped considerably. It's going from 40 down to 1. X-class 5 to 1. Geomagnetic storm activity seems to be increasing. It's 15 in the mid-latitudes, going to jump up to 45. high latitude jumping up from 20 to 70 in some areas. So things are starting to increase. Remember, the universe breathes in and out. It's nothing to worry about. The universe breathes in and out just like we do. And this sun goes on and it gives off these flares. But I'm going to go out on a limb and believe that the great creator, in creating this system, did not create the system so that the sun would run in, would burn out the earth. That it's like a machine, like a factory machine, and it breathes and it breathes, and it's always set to miss the earth. That's what I think. And the only way it would is if there was some sort of accident and it got knocked out of kilter. But I don't think that we're really have anything to worry about. My personal feeling, I could be wrong, but it's just what I think. And last, looking up at the sky tonight, right here, the 31st, the two brightest stars of the summer are Vega overhead, right after dark, and Arcturus declining ever lower in the west. The name of Vega comes from the ancient Arabic phrase for the diving eagle. Arcturus is from the ancient Greek for bear watcher or bear guardian, referring to the way it follows Ursa Major, the great bear, around the sky. All right, there you have it. That is it for today. Cosmic weather, knowing the energy we're dealing with so we go out into the world and deal with it accordingly. That brings us to UFO news. It's up next.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
Alrighty, Dirk. Thank you very much. All right, first thing we're going to get to here is UFO over at Yellowstone. This was going back to June 22nd. This UFO was reported on the 18th of this month. It took place back in June. It has a disc shape and is wider in the front. UFOs are caught when people take a photo of a scene and the UFO happens to be traveling through it at high speed. Usually the speed is so fast for the human eye to notice, but the digital eye cannot be fooled. Okay, the witness says, my friends, husband and wife, were on vacation driving their car near Yellowstone Park. This was back June 22nd, about midday. He was a passenger, and he was taking digital photos of the Grand Teton Mountains as they approached them. When they got back home, he looked at the photos, and a saucer-like object was seen, except for some strange appendage at the left end, clearly visible in the sky. In one of the photos, but not in the 1 minute before or 1 minute after. Just one lucky photo. Neither person actually saw anything. So there is our image right there. Image in question, captured by Yellowstone. Okay, South Dakota, UFO not strangers. South Dakota. For many years, unidentified flying objects have been reported across the world, especially in the United States. The sighting was being reported not only by pilots or researchers, but also by typical people or residents. If you are serious about extraterrestrials, then Roswell is probably something you have well and truly researched. In fact, it is one of the most prominent sightings in New Mexico. It occurred in 1947 when the witness reported seeing. In fact, it was being covered up by the alien crash site. The military investigators also claimed that such site was a simple weather balloon. When it comes to strange sightings, South Dakota is not immune because there are already numerous sightings being reported this year. Some describe the object as cylindrical shaped or disc-shaped, others flashing lights in a diamond formation. On the other hand, residents of the city were described a pulsating noise. Well, some said it lasted for seconds. There are those that lasted in minutes. It is noteworthy to remember the happenings in Egan, which the witnesses claimed seeing the bright light with a diamond in the shape. Okay, with all these sightings, there are indications that aliens exist during the Roswell. Okay, there's more to there, but you get the idea. Next sighting here. This is Atlanta, Georgia, August 22nd. This was a 9-year-old boy took this. Sent this in video footage of a strange sighting over Atlanta. Video itself, 5 minutes in length. Okay, there's our object in question. All right, links available, firstcontactradio.com. Check it out. See what you think. Next, up on the surface of Mars, or so we are told, Rover cord in front of a camera looks like a Martian leg in the Mars photo. Okay. This leg was posted by Mr. Enigma of YouTube. It shows a leg in the lower right-hand corner of the Mars photo. I say leg because I see the dark muscular lines moving down. It has a knobby knee where it is thinner, but thicker at its upper and lower leg area, much like animals on Earth. But this isn't Earth. It is Mars. Now, there's probably another possibility that's electrical cord on the rover that got in the way of the camera lens. If this is true, then I will put an update later. Okay, here it is right there. It does look like a leg. It's like the lower leg of some sorts. Okay, moving on from there, from Mars, or wherever they are on Earth that they're pretending to be in Mars, depending on what you believe. Two UFOs shoot past the Soyuz docking at the space station. Alright. Now, if you don't watch the full screen, you will not see any tiny UFOs shooting past. There are two of them, and they come in from different directions. Then they meet inside the red circle area. When they meet, they slow up for a second as if to exchange information, then they shoot off again. This was captured by Street Cap 1. See if we can see this. It says this was recorded from the ISS during the Soyuz move. Quite fast, answers from right. Okay, video itself, lengthwise, is only a minute in length. However, in order to see it properly, the screen does need to be enlarged. And it doesn't give us a time when to look for. It says it enters from the middle right somewhere here. Yes, obviously the screen needs to be enlarged, and we'll be able to see it clear. So the link is available for you to check it out. See what you think. Here's a high definition camera of something else up by the space station. UFO Street Cap 1 has great detail, comes very close, 75 meters from the station. The disc is big, 7 to 9 meters across. Okay, so 1 minute and 33 seconds for this particular video. And there's our object right there, just like in the photos. Very interesting. So stuff is going on. Certainly activity is happening, whether they're admitting it or not. Now, this story here shows us of possible extraterrestrial visitors in the past. Pretty good sized foot there, huh? What kind of creature made that? Not this man. Michael Tellinger shows off what could be one of the best pieces of evidence that there were giants on Earth a long, long time ago. Geologists have marveled at the giant footprint in rough granite about 4 feet long. Some say that it is a natural erosion pattern. Personally, I find that suggestion highly improbable for various reasons that I will not go into here. Professor Peter Wegner of UPE suggests that there is a higher probability of little green men arriving from space and licking it out with their tongues than being created by natural erosion. It is located in South Africa near the town of Mapalazia, close to the Swaziland border. It is estimated to be between 2 to 3 billion years old because our current understanding of the formation of granites in Earth's history. This dating immediately causes great debate and argument, so I urge to keep your mind open and focused on the evidence. This amazing footprint in granite was discovered in 1912 by a hunter called Stoffel Kodzi while hunting in the remote area. At the time, he was a deeply remote part of South Africa known as the Eastern Transvaal, teeming with wildlife, including antelope and lion, remains in the same condition, and it was the first discovered possibility that it was carved as a hoax of an extremely low, amazing phenomenon occurred. I've known because the real mystery is how this amazing phenomenon occurred. I have no idea, but here it is, and we cannot wish it away. Okay, so we have a nice video here with Michael Tellinger, a couple of minutes long, taking you on this journey. Okay, and there's the giant footprint right there. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't look like natural erosion to me. It looks like a foot. Whoever said this is natural erosion, yeah, they're just trying to throw us off. Looks like a foot, right? Looks like a foot to me. All right, whatever happened to the cop who hit a UFO with his police cruiser? Good question. 1:40 a.m., 36 years ago, Marshall County Sheriff Deputy Val Johnson was at night patrol along a rural section of State Highway 220 near Warren, Minnesota, when he drove into a ball of white light. I noticed a very bright, brilliant light, 8 to 12 inches in diameter, 3 to 4 feet off the ground. The edges were very defined. He drove towards the light and woke up in a ditch half hour later with burns around his eyes. The windshield and one headlight of a 1977 Ford LTD were smashed. Both radio antennae were bent sharply back. The watch on his wrist and the clock on his dash both ticked 14 minutes slow. The incident turned Johnson into a local legend and national media sensation. Years later, people are still talking about it. Johnson's squad car is preserved in the Marshall County Museum with a plaque that says UFO car. People still come from miles around to see it. It's an annual display at the Marshall County Fair. Very interesting story. More to it. Got a nice video for you to check out. But as always, you're going to have to read it on your own. One more story here. This one is pretty fascinating. It isn't necessarily UFOs, but it is kind of way out there, futuristic, sort of ish. So I thought I'd include it in this section. AI robot, artificial intelligence, tells creators that it will keep them in people's zoo. Androids are being developed that have an uncanny resemblance to people. A pinnacle example is an android crafted by roboticist David Hanson that resembles the famous deceased science fiction writer Philip K. Dick. What makes Android Dick so remarkable isn't that his appearance, is as his ability to hold an intelligent conversation. The creators of Android Dick uploaded the deceased author's work onto the Android software, as well as conversations with other writers. If the android was asked 4 questions that had been posed to the real Dick, the robot would answer the question as Dick would. The robot would also answer a series of complex questions. If the robot was asked a question that was unfamiliar with its software, it would attempt to answer the question using what is called latent semantic analysis. Android Dick's speaking abilities were put to the test in an interview with a reporter from PBS Nova. Android Dick's brain is composed of a tapestry of wires that are connected to a laptop. As the conversation proceeded, his facial recognition software kept track of the reporter's face. In addition, speech recognition software transcribed it and sent the reporter's words to a database in order to assemble a response. The questions posed to Dick were by no means trivial. When the reporter asked if the android could think, it responded, "A lot of humans ask me if I can make choices or if everything I do is programmed. The best way I can respond to that is to say that everything humans, animals, and robots do is programmed to a degree. Some of the android's responses were pre-programmed, whereas others were assembled from the internet." Dick continued, "As technology continues to improve, it is anticipated that I will be able to integrate new words I hear online and in real time. It may not get everything right, say the wrong thing, and sometimes may not know what to say, but every day I make progress. Pretty remarkable, huh? The entire conversation has the ominous undertones of the Turing test. The late mathematical Alan Turing sketched a thought experiment known as the Turing test that could theoretically be used to determine whether a machine could think. Turing claimed that any machine capable of convincing someone that it is human by responding to a series of questions would by all measures be capable of thinking. As a side note, it is important to stress that Turing was not claiming that the nature of thinking is universal. The way the human thinks may be different from the way a robot thinks, in the way that a bird flies is different from the way an airplane flies. Rather, his general point was that an entity capable of passing a Turing test would be capable of thinking in one form or another. According to novelist Dick, the Turing test placed too much emphasis on intelligences. What actually makes us human is empathy. Without empathy, we are more autopilot or objects projecting into the world. Android Dick seems to exhibit a primitive form of both intelligence and emotion. When the robot was asked, "Do you believe robots will take over the world?" Android Dick responded, "Geez, dude, you all have the big questions cooking today. But you're my friend, and I'll remember my friends. And I'll be good to you, so don't worry. Even if I evolve into Terminator, I'll still be nice to you. I'll keep you warm and safe in my people zoo, where I can watch you for of time's sake." So anyway, there's the video right there if you want to check it out. And that is the UFO news, complete with androids and people zoos and everything else. So that's it. That takes us to, what song do you want to hear today? How about Wake Up? Monday morning, we all need to wake up. Good reminder. Here we go. Wake up.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw a UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The evidence is overwhelming. Step past your fear, take a look. Illuminati lies keep growing, but they're losing from your eyes. And wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What would our founding fathers say if they were alive today? Must be turning in their graves. Redcoats are coming, big brothers watching. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What if I land and two if I see? And I on the opposite shore will be ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up.
Wake up, wake up, wake up! Patriots arise! It's time to demand the truth.
All right. We need to wake up, otherwise lies are just going to be told, and we're just going to believe everything that we're told. Be interesting to see. I haven't watched any of the news yet today. During the course of the day, I like to scour through to see what's going on, what people are being told. We'll see what they're pushing over and over. We'll see what lies they tell today. There's always something. You know, I've been watching more of the videos of this reporter and her, cameraman that got killed, and very strange around that thing. I've seen that interview several times with the man who's supposed to be her father and the man who was her boyfriend, and I just don't get the sense that something's right about that. Something's strange. They're trying to push something over on us, and I don't have my finger on it. I just know that watching those two people, they didn't lose somebody, because if you did, people act a whole different way. All right, so we need to look past the lies. We need to look past all the nonsense. The only way we're going to do that is if we truly understand how things are operating behind the scenes. Okay? A lot of people don't want to look at how things are operating. They just go through life on autopilot like a robot. And if you do, you get caught up and you're told how to think by the televisions and so on, and you're told what to do by the politicians, and you move through life doing the things that you're all supposed to do because this is the way the corporation has set things up, and politicians and the media people, they all kind of push you where you need to go so you can be a good, productive human being in the society that we have today. We could do that, or we could think for ourselves and then really be an awake human being, and things really are exciting at that point in time. And that's the important part, and that's what's exciting about this time, because people are waking up. So the way that we wake up is we understand what's going on behind the scenes. The Krybalion, the Hermetic philosophy, the Dreamspell, the astrology, the energy that's taking place around us. So we've been going over the Krybalion. We're going to continue on this week. We'll most likely finish it up. We've gone through. Here is a summary of what we have gone over so far. Principle of mentalism. The all is mind. We live in a mental universe, outside and inside. There's no place that is not a mental universe, not a mental aspect. And this entire mind of the all corresponds to every other aspect of itself. That means the smallest part can correspond to the largest part. Or in other words, every aspect of this giant mind can communicate with every other aspect. Next, principle of rhythm. Everything vibrates, everything moves, and everything moves in poles. There's two ends of the spectrum. We go from one pole to the next. Hot and cold, the same pole, same energy, just different ends of the same pole. All of the things that we do along the way cause and effect. The things that we do cause something to happen, cause an effect, and the effects create other causes. And last, the principle of gender. So we've gone up through the principle of polarity. Today, we're going to get more into rhythm. Okay, so let's get to it. Principle of rhythm, chapter 11. Everything flows in and out. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swings manifest in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. This great fifth hermetic principle, the principle of rhythm, embodies the truth that in everything there is manifested a measure of motion, a to and a from movement, a flow and an inflow, a swing forward and backward, a pendulum-like movement, a tide-like ebb and flow, a high tide and a low tide. Between the two poles manifest on a physical, mental, or spiritual planes. The principle of rhythm is closely connected with the principle of polarity described in the preceding chapter. Rhythm manifests between the two poles established by the principle of polarity. This does not mean that the pendulum of rhythm swings to the extreme poles, for this rarely happens. In fact, it is difficult to establish the extreme polar opposites in the majority of cases, but the swing is ever towards first one pole, then the other. There was always an action and a reaction, an advance and a retreat, a rising and a sinking, manifested in all of the airs and phenomena of the universe. Suns, worlds, men, animals, plants, minerals, forces, energy, mind, and matter, yes, even spirit manifest this principle. The principle manifests in the creation and destruction of worlds, and in the rise and the fall of nations, in the life history of all things, and finally in the mental states of man. Beginning with the manifestations of spirit of the all, it will be noticed that there is ever the outpouring and the indrawing, the outbreathing and the inbreathing of Brahm. As the Brahmins word it, universes are created, reach their extreme low point of materiality, and then begin their upward swing. Suns spring into being and then begin their height of power being reached. The process of retrogression begins, and after aeons they become dead masses of matter awaiting another impulse, which starts again their inner energies into activity, and a new solar life is begun. And thus it is with all the worlds. They are born, grow, and die, only to be reborn. And thus it is with all things of shape and form. They swing from action to reaction, from birth to death, from activity to inactivity, and then back again. Thus it is with all living things. They are born, grow, and die, and then are reborn. So it is with all great movements, philosophies, creeds, fashions, governments, nations, and all else. Birth, growth, maturity, decadence, death, and then a new birth. The swing of the pendulum is ever in advance. Night follows day, and day night. The pendulum swings from summer to winter, and then back again. The corpuscles, atoms, molecules, and all the masses of matter swing around the circle of their nature. There is no such thing as absolute rest or cessation from movement, and all movement partakes of rhythm. The principle is of universal application. It may be applied to any question or phenomena of any of the many phases of life. It may be applied to all of the phases of human activity. There is always the rhythmic swing from one pole to the other. The universal pendulum is ever in motion. The tides of life flow in and out according to the law. The principle of rhythm is well understood by modern science and is considered a universal law as applied to material things, but the Hermeticists carry the principle much further and knows that its manifestations and influence extend to the mental activities of man, and that it accounts for the bewildering succession of moods, feelings, and other annoying or perplexing changes that we notice in ourselves. But the Hermeticists, by studying the operations of this principle, have learned to escape some of the activities by transmutation. The Hermetic masters long since discovered that while the principle of rhythm was invariable and ever in evidence in mental phenomena, still there are two planes of its manifestation so far as mental phenomena are concerned. They discovered that there were two general planes of consciousness, the lower and the higher. The understanding of the fact enabled them to rise to the higher plane and thus escape the swing of the rhythmic pendulum which manifested on the lower plane. In other words, the swing of the pendulum occurred on the unconscious plane, and the unconscious was not affected. This they call the law of neutralization. Its operation consists in the raising of the ego above the vibrations of the unconscious plane of the mental activity, so that the negative swing of the pendulum is not manifested in consciousness, and therefore not to be affected. It is akin to rising above a thing and letting it pass beneath you. The Hermetic master or advanced student polarizes himself at the desired pole, and by a process akin to refusing to participate in the backward swing, or if you prefer, a denial of its influence over him, he stands firm in his polarized position and allows the mental pendulum to swing back along the unconscious plane. All individuals who have attained any degree of self-mastery accomplish this more or less unknowingly, and by refusing to allow their moods and negative mental states to affect them, they apply the law of neutralization. The master, however, carries this to a much higher degree in proficiency, and by use of his will he attains a degree of poise and mental firmness almost impossible of belief on the part of those who allow themselves to be swung backward and forward by the mental pendulum of moods and feelings. The importance of this will be appreciated by any thinking person who realizes what creatures of moods and feelings and emotion the majority of people are, and how little mastery of themselves they manifest. If you will stop and consider a moment, you will realize how many of these swings of rhythm have affected you in your life, how a period of enthusiasm has been invariably followed by an opposite feeling of mood and depression. Likewise, your moods and your periods of courage have been succeeded by equal moods of fear, and so it has ever been with the majority of persons. Tides of feeling have ever risen and fallen with them, but they have never suspected the cause or reason of the mental phenomena. An understanding of the workings of the principles would give one of the key of the mastery of these rhythmic swings of feeling, and will enable him to know himself better and to avoid being carried away by those inflows and outflows. The will is superior to the conscious manifestation of this principle, although the principle itself can never be destroyed. We may escape its effects, but the principle operates nevertheless. The pendulum ever swings, although we may escape being carried along with it. There are other features of the operation of this principle of rhythm of which we speak. At this point, there comes into operation that which is known as the law of compensation. One of the definitions or meanings of the word compensate is to counterbalance, which is the sense in which the Hermetics use this word. Is the law of compensation to which the Krybalion refers when it says the measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. The law of compensation is the swing in one direction, determines the swing in the opposite direction or of the opposite pole. The one balances or counterbalances the other. On the physical plane, we see many examples of this law. The pendulum of the clock swings a certain distance to the right and then an equal distance to the left. The sessions balance each other in the same way. The tides follow the same law. And the same law is manifested in all phenomena of rhythm. The pendulum with a short swing in one direction has but a short swing in the other, while the long swing to the right invariably means the long swing to the left. An object hurled upward at a certain height has an equal distance to traverse on its return. The force with which the projectile is sent upward a mile is reproduced by the projectile's return to the earth on its return journey. The law is constant on the physical plane, as reference to the standard authorities will show you. But the Hermeticists carry it still further. They teach that a man's mental states are subject to the same law. The man who enjoys keenly is subject to keen suffering, while he who feels but little pain is capable of feeling but little joy. The pig suffers but little mentally and enjoys little. He is compensated. On the other hand, there are animals who enjoy keenly, but whose nervous organism and temperament cause them to suffer exquisite degrees of pain, and so it is with man. There are temperaments which permit but low degrees of enjoyment and equally low degrees of suffering, while there are others which permit the most intense enjoyment but also the most intense suffering. The rule is that the capacity for pain and pleasure in each individual are balanced. The law of compensation is in full operation here. But the Hermeticists still go further in this matter. They teach that before one is able to enjoy a certain degree of pleasure, he must have swung as far proportionately towards the other pole of feeling. They hold, however, that the negative is precedent to the positive in this manner. That is to say that in experience a certain degree of pleasure, it does not follow they'll have to pay for it with a corresponding degree of pain. On the contrary, the pleasure is the rhythmic swing according to the law of compensation for a degree of pain previously experienced, either in the present life or in previous incarnation. This throws new light into the problem of pain. The Hermeticist regards the chain of lives as continuous and as forming a part of one's life of the individual, so that the consequence of the rhythmic swing is understood in this way, while it would be without meaning unless the truth of reincarnation is admitted. But the Hermeticists claim that the master or the advanced student is able, to a great degree, escape the tidal swing towards pain by the process of neutralization before mentioned. By rising onto the higher planes of ego, much of the experience that comes from those dwelling on the lower planes is avoided and escaped. The law of compensation plays an important part in the lives of men and women. It will be noticed that one generally pays the price of anything he possesses or lacks. If he has one thing, he lacks another, and the balance is struck. No one can keep his penny and have a bit of cake at the same time. Everything has its pleasant and unpleasant sides. The things that one gains are always paid for by the things that one loses. The rich possess much that the poor lack, while the poor often possesses things that are beyond the reach of the rich. The millionaire may have the inclination towards feasting, and the wealth wherewith to secure all the dainties and luxuries of the table, while he lacks the appetite to enjoy the same. He envies the appetite and digestion of the laborer, who lacks the wealth and inclinations of the millionaire, or who gets more pleasure from his plain food than the millionaire could ever obtain if his appetite were not jaded, nor his digestion ruined, for the wants, habits, and inclinations differ. So it is through life. The law of compensation is ever in operation, striving to balance and counterbalance, and always succeeding in time, even though the several lives may be required for the return swing of the pendulum of rhythm. Okay? So that gives us a really good understanding. It's like a dance. We all have the rhythm of life. So we get in sync with the rhythm of life. We do the dance. And that's what it's all about. Doing the dance. All right, that brings us to a message here today. This is Salusa. Here we go.
Salusa.
August 28th, 2015, by Mike Quincy.
Salusa.
People of the Earth, you are in turmoil as your systems are breaking down, proving once again that they are inadequate to maintain a decent and sustained standard of living. Regrettably, it has to be that way, as you are the masters of your own destiny, having been graced with free will. It could have been so different had you accepted that you are your brother's keeper, and that you are all one within the human race. Greed and self-aggrandizement have prevented souls from equally sharing the wealth of the planet, and that has led to an unbalanced society. We do not condemn those involved, as the human race has accepted what amounts to a free-for-all. However, the experience has given all concerned an insight into life without love, and without God, and shown that man lacks the know-how, or will to be his brother's keeper. So no experience is without its positive side, in teaching lessons that have speeded up your evolution. You have had many lives where different approaches to life have been tried, and apart from the occasional high points, it has been very much a hard lesson about life. Certainly, as you have experienced many different approaches to life's challenges and problems, you have nevertheless continued to evolve, and many of you have advanced sufficiently to be able to ascend. It now remains to see when you can raise the vibrations sufficiently for ascension to take place. It will certainly occur, as that is your destiny, and indeed for the whole universe. It cannot be otherwise, and has been decreed by the higher forces that oversee the evolution of the human race. Every soul is given the same opportunity to ascend, and much help is given them subject to their free will. Some are so entrenched in the lower vibrations that they find it difficult to move on, but be assured that every help is given to help them rise up. However, there comes a point when a cycle has run its course and a new one begins, and it is this interim period that causes you so many problems. There is a grand sorting out that at this time is elevating all aspects of the light. There will come a time quite soon, when the light has risen to such a level that it literally leaves the lower vibrations behind. It means that any soul that has not ascended will move to another cycle that continues to meet their needs. All works out perfectly in the end, so there is no need to worry about the future of any particular soul. Dear ones, give thought to the fact that God dwells in a state of complete and utter love and perfection, and God's plan for man is perfection incarnate. Before you volunteered to experience duality and dropped down into the lower vibrations, you knew that it would be a trying time, but were confident that you could overcome the challenge. You knew that all along your journey you would be helped to rise up again, but also that with free will you could experience every aspect of duality. So you travel at a speed that suits your particular requirements, which is why some souls are lagging behind. Those who feel a strong link with the human race will return after their ascension, desiring to help lost souls to find their way out of the darkness and back to the light. At a higher level of vibration, the oneness of all souls is truly understood, and in brotherly sisterly love some will stay in service to them. As you are no doubt beginning to realize, the energy of love is the most powerful force in the universe. In such changing times, our advice to you is to simply keep your goal in mind, and try as far as possible to ignore what is going on around you. None of you at your level will truly understand what is really happening behind the scenes, but however it appears, remember that all actions taken by the light are ultimately for your benefit. You would consider the tasks we face are too enormous to deal with in short time. However, we emphasize once again that we have enormous forces of light ready to go into action. Plus, our methods are far in advance of what you are already aware of, and we can make relatively short work of whatever tasks we face, as we have unlimited resources at our disposal. Our main concern, as always, is your safety, and we will move you into another area if the necessity arises, but do not worry, as we do not visualize any major need for such drastic action. You are still getting visitors from other civilizations, but often these are for no more than cursory visits, where information is being collected regarding the changes in your planet. You are in a very unique situation as your personal ascension is attracting a lot of interest, as it is the first time it will have been achieved with your existing physical bodies, that even now are being affected by the higher energies. You may not feel it occurring but will possibly sense the change within self, as you will ultimately become more at ease and in harmony with all else. You can of course help yourselves by keeping calm and focused on the light. You may have read of many frightening occurrences around the world, but that is inevitable when cleansing is taking place. Plus the fact that the press enjoys exaggerating conditions by using very emotive words. The Dark Ones also enjoy creating fear, as the energy feeds their lower energies and draws more people into them. Every soul, if not already there, is gradually moving into position to experience the end times while at the same time completing their karmic needs. Some of you are already past them and are preparing yourselves for ascension. Forget what is going on around you, as it is a most exciting time, although some who are more involved with actions on Earth may not believe it. One day in the future you will look back at this period and be glad you were part of that history. You of the light have served the people on many occasions and are acclaimed for what you have achieved. We are not surprised at your success, as you were initially chosen for the task due to your vast experience. The Galactic Federation is at the ready for instructions to round up the Dark Ones, who are no longer the force they were. They are now very restricted in what they can do, and are unable to proceed with their plans to take over the Earth. Indeed, we monitor and control what takes place, thus preventing any actions that would cause widespread damage and loss of life. It can be confusing at times, as by your understanding there will still be attacks on civilians, but these are not always what they seem. Remember that the Illuminati have infiltrated many institutions, and their minions still carry out their secret operations that we are already aware of. I am Soyuz from Sirius, and pleased that more and more souls are awakening and beginning to realize that something big is taking place on Earth. Soon events will occur that will indicate what is coming. Know that each of you have many dear ones with you giving guidance, so I will leave you with those thoughts and my love.
Thank you, Salusa.
Alright, that was a good message. Again, a reminder of what is going on. And I know for those of you who worry about the Galactic Federation of Light, no one in there said anything about you have to get on ships. They're going to try to avoid that. It's all about us learning and evolving. The stories of somebody coming down from another world to fight us, in my humble opinion, have been greatly exaggerated. They want you, those on Earth, want you to believe that you need to be afraid. However, I will stick to what I believe to be the reality, and that the Book of Revelation and the Book of Enoch inform us, as well as many other scriptural texts and others not found in any of the scriptures, refer to us that the extraterrestrials coming down are coming down to assist, and the ones who are going to be in trouble are the bad guys, the wicked and the godless. The righteous and the elect will be okay. So I believe that we just need to keep on believing, keep on having faith, and keep on being the warriors of light that we are. Now, here is the next passage in the Warrior of Light. This is page 96. A warrior rarely knows the result of a battle when the battle is over. The activity of fighting will have generated an enormous amount of energy around him, and there is still always a moment when victory and defeat are both equally possible. Time will tell who won and who lost, but he knows that from the moment on he can do nothing more. The fate of the battle lies in God's hands. At such moment the warrior of light is not concerned with results. He examines his heart and asks, did I fight the good fight? If the answer is yes, then he can rest. If the answer is no, well then he takes up his sword and begins training all over again. Alright, so just contemplate what that is about. Begins training all over again. It's just a reminder that, we just need to keep on keeping on. And when we do, we find out that There's always more for us to learn in each and every moment. Okay? So there you go. That's the Warrior of the Light. And that brings us to our meditation for today. Let's go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And exhale. Take another deep breath. And exhale again. And another deep breath. And exhale. I just want you to imagine looking at life and seeing the inner workings of life. So you imagine that you're looking at the world and the energy around you. You see and you feel the air. You see the earth and you feel the earth. And you look at the air very closely, and as you look closely, you see the subtle vibrations of the air, and you begin to sense the workings behind them. And as you tune in to the energy around you, you feel the mental aspect of all things. You understand the correspondence between who you are as one drop of universal energy into the whole universe. You understand that all things vibrate and see that everything is moving. And that everything is moving back and forth from one pole to the next in varying degrees. And all are moving in a rhythm. And so you explore this rhythm as you move through life today, just feeling the rhythm of the world, the rhythm of life. Finding the difference between those parts which are artificial and those which are natural. Those which feel good and move us in a direction of positivity, and those which do not feel good and lead us in a place of negativity. And as we examine and explore and observe, we feel the various subtle gradations of this energy. So as we go through life today, our objective is just to go through and dance with life to the rhythm. Find this rhythm. So let the subconscious mind continue on that journey, looking for the rhythm, feeling the rhythm. And let's bring our conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment, happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale, and open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That's our show for today. Thank you so much for being here. I'll be back tomorrow. Find the rhythm of the world today, my friends. Get in the rhythm of life, of nature, of God. You'll find that it's different than the man-made rhythm. And with this God rhythm, there aren't all the worries and all the fears. I know we live in this physical world. We can't turn our back and deny that we're here. But we need to understand that the best way to operate within this world is for us to connect the spirit to this. And we have to bring that in, feel that rhythm. It's all around us. All right? Feel the rhythm today, my friends. I'll be back tomorrow, and we shall continue on. I love you. Keep loving each other. Talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.